Hey guys, this is Post-Production Pi, and welcome to part 3 of the Professional Photoshop Portrait Retouching Series on SLRLounge.com. In the very first tutorial, we brought in our image into ACR, made some adjustments, and then brought it into Photoshop. In the last tutorial, we covered kind of the different healing brush tools as well as set up presets for those healing brushes. So if you guys need to get to where we're at, check out the previous two tutorials. In this tutorial, we're going to begin by actually removing blemishes and unwanted detail from the face using those healing brush presets that we set up in the last tutorial. So let's get started. Now with every different retouch adjustment, I always do it on a new layer. We're going to do a new layer for each of these tutorials, so at any time we can go back to the previous step if we need to. We can even go back all the way to the original image if necessary. So with our background selected, I'm going to hit Control J to jump that to a new layer. It is Command J on a Mac, and we're going to double click that just so we can rename it. We're going to call this, this is tutorial number 3, so we'll call it 3, and then we'll say part 3 so it's not confusing. Whoops, not caps locks on, keep hitting the wrong button. Part 3, and this is going to be, we'll say blemish and detail removal. Alright, now let's get started. I'm going to select the spot removal tool by hitting J. We're going to zoom into my image. Now keep in mind that with the healing tools, I like to be using them to remove detail, not to diminish it. With diminishing, I like to be using the clone tool. And we're going to teach you guys basically how to use the clone tool to diminish in the next tutorial. Now, I always like to start with the spot healing tool because the spot healing tool basically does the sampling for me. I don't need to be clicking and sampling every single time. And as long as I keep the brush about the size of the area that I'm trying to heal, it does a really good job of healing those areas for me. And kind of guessing what I want. As I move to different areas, I'm adjusting the brush size to kind of match those areas that I'm trying to heal out. Now, keep in mind that we're using the brush presets from our last tutorial, and I always default to this left angle one, just because it typically works in most situations. And if I need to, I'll switch it. If you guys get any artifacts from healing, you can go over that same area multiple times. If it still doesn't work, I like to hit K to switch to my healing brush tool, select a sample area, redraw over that area so that I can choose where to sample from. Going back to the regular spot removal or spot healing tool, I'm going to keep selecting these lines that I want removed. Again, these are lines I want removed and not diminished. If we want to diminish them, we want to use a different tool for that. So let's scroll down. I'm going to keep removing. Notice how it's doing a pretty good job of guessing what I want. In areas that I have bumps, I'm just shrinking down the brush a little bit, going over those areas. And I'm healing in the direction of the blemish or the line that I'm trying to remove. Once again, it's not guessing correctly. I'm going to switch back to my healing brush tool, sample from right next to it, and then draw it over that area, and voila. Go back to my spot healing tool. We'll just kind of keep going through. I'm going through the image from top to bottom, left to right, just kind of in an order that makes sense. Let me make sure I'm still on my, whoops, there we go. I was actually on my healing brush tool, that's why I kept sampling from the wrong area. Let's keep fixing that. If you guys make a mistake, you guys can Control Z or just repeat, go over that area again. If you guys need to back out of multiple steps, I'd probably recommend going to the history panel or by hitting Control Alt Z, and that'll take you back multiple steps. Alright, let's close that back up and go back to our healing. Going to keep on healing these things out. And again, when you're healing this stuff out, you want to keep in mind that you want to heal to basically the size of the final product that you're trying to create. So if we're trying to create a 4x6, obviously everything that I'm healing right now isn't even going to be noticeable. So we're going to say that this is going to be blown up. We'll say to like a 20x30, and we need to kind of repair these smaller things. But what you want to typically do is kind of adjust the zoom to about the size of what the final print would be so that you know kind of what's going to be noticeable and what's not. Again, I'm to this area where I want to basically have more control. I want to be able to tell it to remove this bump, and I don't want it to guess on where to sample from. So I'm switching to the regular healing brush tool. I'm going to sample from the area right below it, draw it in right above it. Because we've done those nice brush presets, it doesn't pull, whoops, sorry, it doesn't pull anything from that high contrast eyebrow area right above it. I'm going to keep going over these lines. The lines underneath the eyes I don't want to actually heal out. Those are lines that I want to diminish. If you heal out lines underneath the eyes completely, what ends up happening is your image is going to look photoshopped, your subject's going to look kind of alien-like, and it's just going to look very fake. So we don't want to basically heal them out, we just want to reduce those lines. Alright, I'm going to just remove kind of some of this detail on the nose, we don't have to get it perfect. Again, you guys are going to make adjustments based on the size that you guys are printing to. Occasionally I'm going to zoom out and then zoom back in just to make sure there's anything that I notice. Like up here I notice a little bit of discoloration. What I can do with that is select my patch tool. I can select that discolored area by making a selection. I'm going to drag it over an area that looks okay, let go, and then it's going to fade that to that area. If I notice a little bit more, I can do it one more time, repeat the process until I get that area to look smooth. Now, same thing down here below. I notice that there's this kind of patchy area of skin right here where there's some discoloration. With the patch tool selected, I'm going to select this area and kind of get as close as you can to selecting that area. I'm going to drag the selection over my sample area that I'm going to sample from. And then what I'm going to do is after I let go of that, I'm going to hit Control Shift and F, and that's going to bring up my fade dialog. So that'd be Command Shift F on a Mac. Now from here I can basically fade how much I want the sample area to overlay over that target area. So if I want it at 50% so it doesn't look super noticeable, it'll do a really nice job if I hit Control D now to deselect that, of fading that area and removing that kind of patchy area right there. Same if I want to do the same thing right here with this little patchy area. Do the same thing, drag it over this area. I'm going to hit Control Shift F. We're going to fade to about 60%, hit OK, Control D to deselect that area, and voila, we have a nice result. Let's hit J again to go back to our spot healing brush. And I am just continuing to go through and just kind of remove these noticeable blemishes. Once again, this line right here is a perfect object for us to fix. So we go back to the patch tool. Again, it's P on my computer because I changed that shortcut. So if you guys don't want that shortcut, you guys can feel free to change it to something else. I'm going to drag it up a little bit just over this area. We're going to hit Control D to deselect, and there we go. We have a nice sampling right there. I noticed that this area looks a little bit like it's been duplicated, so I can hit J to get my my spot healing brush. Just kind of go over it a little bit, just so that the texture doesn't exactly match that area right above it, so it doesn't look like it's been healed basically. Now for this little bump over the lip, I'm going to select my healing brush tool. I'm going to go to a brush size that's about the size of the bump, which I'm good at right now. I'm going to select from this edge right here where basically the lip has a nice contrast with the skin. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to alt click there to sample, and I'm going to match that line up right here, and I'm just going to drag over that area that I want to replace. Now I missed it a little bit right now, so I'm going to redo that one more time. Let's go over it one more time. I want to line up that area and then just remove it. And there we go. We can get a really nice heel out look just by basically matching those edges up. If I want to make a little more adjustments, I can select from this side of the lip, and this is one of those situations where I might switch my brush, but I think I can line it up okay just fine right now, but it might be easier to switch the brush. And there we go, we can kind of fix that connection right there just by healing from both sides of the lip. Alright, I'm going to hit J again, go back to spot removal. Let's remove a little bit more. Again, just some of these discolorations. It's, you know, if she has a beauty mark that's kind of really flattering, it looks nice, I'm not going to remove stuff like that. I'm only going to be removing stuff that's kind of unflattering. Keep in mind that this process, while it takes longer than like the standard process of basically just running an action to smooth the skin, it looks much more realistic, and it gives you a much nicer product, because basically smoothing the skin is just going to make if it's overdone, it's going to make your subject look like they have porcelain skin. The more perfect and flawless their skin looks, well, it's going to be kind of revealing that it was photoshopped. So this way we're kind of keeping the pores intact, we're removing unflattering detail, but at the same time it looks real still. Again, I'm going to repeat going over this area. That probably would have been a good area for just the regular healing brush tool, so I could actually kind of have a little more control. Now this area I'm going to use the spot healing brush, and let's see how good of a job it does. Part of this is actually the shadow from the pearls, and this is actually a blemish. So let's just remove this little blemish and see if it does a good job guessing, and it did. So that's because we actually adjust the brush presets, and we are using, whoops, sorry, I don't need to, I accidentally hit Alt and sampled, and it told me that I don't need to sample using the spot healing brush because it does it for me. Alright, I'm just removing these little blemishes off the chest area. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit lazy with some of these brushes. They're a little large. Alright. Remove from here. Again, once we get to like an area like here where it's kind of a blemish in a high contrast area, I switch to my standard healing brush. I'm going to enlarge the size a little bit. I'm going to pull from this line right here, bring it down low, and we're going to basically match up the edge. Again, if I miss the edge, just do it again. So if I miss the edge, you can increase the brush size if you want so you can see the edge a little bit better, but for the most part that should be fine. Let go, and it does a great job replacing it. I'm going to zoom out just to see if there's anything else noticeable. This little area right here is a little bit noticeable. I'm going to just do a little bit of adjustment by just sampling from areas. This is what's nice with the healing brushes. You have a lot of control where it's sampling from. The spot removal, it does a good job for the most part, but it's nice to have some more control in certain situations where I just want it to get it right on the exact first try. Especially when you're dealing with slightly larger areas or areas like this where we have basically a textured cloth. It's good to be using the standard healing brush, because what you want to do is you want to sample right below or nearby where that texture is so you can basically match up the texture. So that way when it heals it out, the texture is still basically aligned with whatever was below it. Same thing up here, there's a little blemish right here. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to actually do the patch tool, and we're going to select the area around it. Again, I'm going to drag down, match up this line right here, and then let go. Hit Control D. If there's any small issues with it, I'm going to hit K and just kind of heal those out individually, which is not really noticeable right now, but I can just do a tiny bit of healing. I'm just going to match up the line as I'm sampling from different areas. That wasn't a very good one. This is the time where I'd actually switch to one of my other brush presets, like for example the flat angle, because it'll give me just a little bit kind of an easier time of sampling and then matching up that edge right there. I'm just going to go over that, kind of heal it, and there we go. Good enough. Again, it doesn't have to be flawless because a lot of this isn't going to be noticeable at the size that we're printing from. Even as a 20 by 30, it wouldn't be noticeable. All right, let's scroll up to our face. Let's check out the before and after. I'm actually going to go to 100% zoom, and let's look at the before and after. So here's the after, and there is the before. So you can see we've done a really nice job of cleaning up the detail. We're going to fix up the hair detail and the lines and everything else in later tutorials. But you can see how much nicer the skin looks. We can scroll over the chest area, check out the before and after. And we did it all without any smoothing actions or anything like that. So we've kind of maintained the look of just the image and kind of her pores and everything, so it looks very realistic. In the next tutorial, we're going to cover diminishing and reducing the appearance of unflattering eye lines and age lines.